welcome everybody to the Magic Beans podcast. We are back again for episode number 63. I'm your host tonight, and I just have the one bean in Chewy on the line tonight. How's it going, mate?
I'm good, Shorty. How are you?
Yeah, can't complain. I think I'm doing all right. Although, as we were talking about pre-cast, we've just gone into some slightly more restrictions again in here in Victoria, or specifically in Melbourne. So,
yeah, not quite a lockdown. Not quite a lockdown, but the light's on amber. So it hasn't gone red yet, but the light's on amber, right?
Yep, good times. But that's not why you're here. You're not here for your coronavirus updates. You're here for some really on-point Magic the Gathering talk, as we always deliver every week. That's right, isn't it?
This is the place to get your most up-to-date metagame analysis, deck breakdown. But I don't know. I don't know why you're listening. I don't know, but we're glad to have you here.
We certainly are. So, yeah, we do have a lot of things to talk about tonight, as we always do. There's a lot going on in the Magic world. And, we'll bring you another good episode. But before we get into that, we would like to shout out our sponsors. So, Chewy, who is that?
That is Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. Josh and Pat's are a Facebook auction site for, actual Magic cards. And they run nightly auctions, multiple lots every night, primo auctions on the weekend. And Josh and Pat's sponsor our leagues, which we'll talk about a little bit tonight. So they sponsor the cars, sponsor the leagues, and they allow us to do what we do. So jump onto Facebook, search Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar, and when you pick up a absolute bargain, make sure you tell them that the beans sent you.
Absolutely. All right, so we will be talking a little bit tonight about the leagues and the historic event that we've got coming up. But before we get into that, we got involved in a special stream last week, Chewy. What was that?
Oh, because we are such big-time content creators, as we alluded to in your intro. So I think, was this our third or our fourth time?
I think it was our fourth.
Fourth time on the early access stream. So as always, it was a lot of fun. So what that means is we get a special client, arena client with
a VIP client.
A VIP client with a login that has all the gems and all the gold and all the wild cards. It's actually pretty cool. And we got to play a bunch of Kaldheim cards 24 hours before everybody else. So everyone kind of got to see what was going on in the format, and I loved it because it was just, you could build whatever we wanted. I got a lot of losses, not as many wins, but as I'd like. But
I think I too got a lot of losses.
Yeah, but it's about trying the new
really
cards.
Why you're there.
No, that's right. And we opened it up to our Discord to send us some deck lists, so we played a variety of decks, and nothing's tuned. And some people are playing the spikiest of things, and other people are just trying to show off the cards. And we certainly fell into that second category. And we're just trying to do cool stuff with the new cards and have fun, because there was kind of nothing on the line for us.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't waste wild cards, and it was a great chance for people to that had an idea of a deck list to get us to try it, so they didn't have to burn the wild cards on it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I
really
sort of like about the early access thing. It does. It just gives everyone that little bit of a chance to go, do I want to spend my wild cards on these new cards, or get a chance to see something that they were considering playing and seeing how it actually goes in action, or potentially spot something else that they hadn't thought of before and go, oh, that really takes my fancy. I think I'll put my precious wild cards into those.
Exactly. Just a bit of a try before you buy. Yeah, try
exactly.
Before you buy.
Yep. So so you streamed for 5 hours, I think, after your working all night. So that was a solid effort.
I'm tired just thinking about it again. Yeah, I started work at midnight. We had had a bit of an upgrade going, and finished at about 10 a.m. Got a couple hours sleep, and then kicked off the stream at 2 and streamed to 5. And I do apologise, Shorty, I didn't get to the end of your shift, which was from about 5:30 until whenever you went to, but I wasn't able to stay awake. It wasn't. Honestly,
I had plenty of company.
Yeah, I think the dulcet tones of your voice probably lulled me to sleep. So maybe we can get a Skype call or a Discord call set up when I can't sleep, and just get you to chat to me until I Do I nod off? That'd be great.
No, that's just weird.
Our wives wouldn't find that strange at all. No.
Don't we have a podcast that you could listen to?
Yeah, I do, but there's this dude keeps going on wild tangents and making terrible jokes. So yeah. Hi, Cracker. It was a bit of a, speaking of wild tangents, let me bring it back. It was a really fun event. I got to play some good card that from new cards from the latest set. Some of them are very good. I know I didn't play them optimally, particularly towards the end of my stream. I did a draft. The draft was not a train wreck, but not a great draft, and we won a couple, but lost a couple. I think we went 3-3 in our draft, and then we moved on to some standard. And
so what decks did you play?
I had a Saltai Snow deck, which was something that we ran into a lot of variants of that. A red-white Warriors deck. There's a lot of new Warriors, and the new red-white Saga in the
showdown of the Scolds.
Yeah, that seems pretty powerful. So I jammed a little bit of that. I had some elves, and I had an array of different decks to try to show off the new standard. And the deck that I probably enjoyed the most was the Jeskai Foretell Control, and I think that deck could be good, but it kind of one of those decks that needs to be tuned to the metagame, as far as card selections and numbers. And
so you're playing like Doomscar. You're playing
all the Foretell cards, yeah.
Yep,
so Doomscar,
the counter spell, the
counter spell, the
one.
card draw spell.
Yep.
I was playing the Demon Bolt, the removal spell at one point, and the Saga that returns a card with Foretell, and the one that makes angels, and a couple of planeswalkers, and a whole bunch of lands. And I think that the core of the deck is there, and I think it could be a player in standard, except the cards like Edgewall Innkeeper, Lurrus / Call of the Death Dweller, and Maze Mind Tome mean that the other mid-range decks or the mid-range creature decks can keep up with you on card advantage, and that makes it pretty hard for a control deck. So we'll have to see how the format shakes out. If those cards that I mentioned remain, at the top of the metagame, then maybe that deck, as cool as it is, doesn't really have a spot at the top of the meta. But
it is always hard when you're like typically a control deck. Your aim is to control the board, keep things under control, and then win the very long game because you have access to card draw and card advantage and all that sort of stuff. And you're going to run your opponent out of resources, and they're left with nothing to do, just top decking, and you've still got a handful of cards. But like you said, when the other mid-range decks and even some of the aggro decks in the format can grind and still have card advantage and still have card draw just as good or if not better than you, that makes it pretty hard for a control deck to actually be good in the format.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because I like a good control deck in the format. We'll talk about Historic a little bit later, but, Blue-White Control historically has been a deck that's, good to have as a presence in the metagame. I don't like it when it's the best deck, like, with Teferi, but it's good when it exists. But, you want that, the best formats are the, where there's a viable control deck, a viable aggro deck, and then a viable mid-range deck, and it's a bit of a rock, paper, scissors. Yeah. But, we'll see. We'll just see how it shakes out. And, maybe when Eldraine rotates in 6 months, whatever it is, we see
the power level will suddenly drop drastically of the format, and we might get to see some other decks. Yeah.
What about you? What did you play?
So I streamed
Mono Red.
Yeah, I streamed for a while. I started the day with the Mono Red. I'm kind of like penciling myself or painting myself into a corner of just becoming the person that's known as being the Mono Red player, which is
painting
fine.
The town red. Yeah.
yeah, that's one way to put it. Which is fine. I do play a lot of Mono Red, and I definitely enjoy playing it, but I didn't want to, jump on the early access stream and just play stock standard Mono Red and put in one or two new cards. And I thought, well, we've got the Magda, the dwarf, semi-dwarf lord. So let's play some dwarves. My name my nickname is Shorty, so I thought, well, let's play Shorty's Dwarves. So
it's on brand. I like it.
It is, yep. So we kicked the stream off with that, and played like the full 7 Dwarves and Magda and Rimrock Knights, all that sort of stuff. A couple of other random Dwarves, and we won our first 2 games, which was good fun, and then we didn't win another game for quite a long time. Didn't seem to matter what deck we were playing. After that, it all sort of went downhill, but. Yeah, that deck was good fun. Definitely not competitive enough to be played in the current format, but we sort of mentioned it a few times on the stream with some of these decks. They're going to... A lot of these tribes that we've seen in Kaldheim, they're going to likely get a lot of support, especially when we get to the D&D set. You know, we're going to get dwarves, we're going to get humans, that sort of thing. So elves. They're going to see a lot more support then. So... Yeah, I think it's kind of, as we've seen this plenty of times. If you've listened to our other podcasts, you would have heard us talk about this before. Often a set will come out, like we saw it a couple of years ago with Ixalan that had the vampires, and it just was never really a good tribe. And then, you know, a year later, all of a sudden we got some more support from another set, and all of a sudden it was actually a decent tribe for a little while.
Yeah, for like a month, it was great. You know, like the Black-White Vampires deck, they printed the Sorin Planeswalker, and that coincided obviously with a rotation, and suddenly the deck's really good. So I think we'll see maybe more than a month with some of the cards in Kaldheim. So it's definitely a power level drop from Eldraine, but that's actually a good thing in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's just... You look at the ban list, and there's just so many of those cards that are banned are from Eldraine, and it's still the most dominant set in the format. Like, I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter and whatever, and we'll sort of get into this a bit more when we talk a little bit more about Standard, but people are still basically just building Eldraine decks, and they're just adding in a couple of cards here and there. It's still the predominant set that's soaking up all the power level of the format at the moment, so...
Yeah, it's funny, even like talking about that Jeskai control deck that I was playing, playing the Doomskars and things to, try out the new cards, and I'm looking at this new card that seems good and works in the deck and fits my strategy, and in the end I went, I think I'm just going to play Bone Crusher Giant instead. So it's just so much better. So
yeah, exactly.
And the deck got better because of that, and it was Bone Crusher's time is, they've gone past the middle of Bone Crusher's Stain Standard. And it's as Edgewell Innkeeper and all of the, the Great Henge and all those other cards that are, all these green cards that I'm naming. Yeah.
Green cards with card advantage and card draw.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think we'll see a massive format shake-up. And obviously, as we get closer to that event, that'll be a topic that we talk about.
We've got a long way to go between now and then. We've got another couple of sets before we get to rotation. So
yeah, which is awesome. So, is there anything you saw that alarmed you? Is there anything broken?
Nothing alarmed me. I did try out a few of the... other combos that people were a little bit worried about. So we spoke about on the podcast, I think previously, the World Tree combo with the Maskwood Nexus, the artifact that makes all of your creatures every creature type, and the World Tree that you can sacrifice to go and get all the gods out of your deck. Tried that combo, played it probably like 5 times, and just literally did nothing. Didn't get anywhere close to even pulling off any sort of combo. Like, the deck was just sort of thrown together from other people's random lists, so it's definitely not tuned, but you just, the way you're sort of building that deck, you just have no answers to like a fast Gruul deck or a mono red or even like an Elves deck, just anything that's putting creatures on the board and getting out quickly. You're just doing nothing.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that the early access event is just best of one.
Yes.
So, a deck like the World Tree...
my favourite kind of Magic.
Yeah, but it makes the cool decks not viable because of the dice roll decks. So, it's a little bit of a shame there, but, in best of 3, maybe with a rotation, that again, and I guess that'll be a theme of this cast. Buy your Kaldheim. So hashtag MTG Finance. Buy your Kaldheim cards now from Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar, and sit on them, because once Eldraine drops, I can definitely foretell some cards spiking in price. So, I honestly, some cards that'll go from 0 to hero really quickly with rotation, I think.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure the new Tibalt, the Valky/Tibalt, is like
that's a bit of fun.
50. It's like 50 US at the moment or something.
Oh, really?
Which is crazy. So,
well, there's talk about playing that
seems to be pretty good.
There's talk about playing that in Modern Jund.
Yeah.
So
there's a bunch of different decks. Like, the thing with these dual face cards, which we didn't really talk about that much on the cast, like when we got them the first time in the last set, where it was a land, like a spell on one side and a land on one side, obviously that had implications for like Goblin Charbelcher decks and things like that, which we've spoken about before. With the ones that we have now that are spells on both sides, whenever you get that option to, like, reveal the top, like Genesis Ultimatum or whatever, or even a blink effect, you can choose which side you're putting on the battlefield.
Yeah, so it's kind of like how split cards used to work, right?
Yeah. So you can go, oh, yep, I can. So, like, you can, like Bloodbraid Elf and hit Valky off the Cascade and actually cast Tibalt, which
in
is...
Modern, so you can have a Tibalt on the board on turn 3 with a, like, Noble Hierarch or a Llanowar.
So that is actually really interesting. Like, that opens up a whole bunch of other possibilities that we just sort of haven't seen before with spells like that. So it's really cool, and it really changes like your card evaluation and that sort of stuff on these cards, because, like, taking Tibalt as the example, you've got a 2-drop on one side and a 7-drop on the other side. So it is a card that you're happy to draw early, because you can just cast it for its 2-drop side. But then if you draw it late, well, okay, cool, I've got a 7-mana Planeswalker that gets me heaps of card advantage. So
yeah, and that has implications really in Modern and Historic and in Pioneer, because it's actually a decent 2-drop. And particularly in those formats that I mentioned where Uro is legal, because you can just make a copy of Uro and back him for 6 and draw a card.
On turn 3.
Yeah, so it's... there's that sort of magical Christmas land case that comes up because Uro is so widely played in those formats. But it's a very cool card, a very powerful card, but it's not. I don't feel like it's broken. I feel like it's good, but it's not degenerate.
Yep.
Tibalt has something else that he has his name to that's a little bit degenerate, though, right?
Yeah. So,
and talk us through this, because you love a glass cannon. You love a glass cannon deck, so. Talk us through Tibalts Trickery.
I certainly do. I'll just I'll bring it up so we can actually read the card, because I don't think we spoke about it in any of our podcasts. So yeah, there's a card that came out and sort of straight away people were like, oh, yeah, this could be interesting. And then people started running the numbers and whatever, and yeah, that's when it got really interesting. So yeah, it's called Tibalts Trickery. It's 1 and a red for an instant, and it says counter target spell, which is weird for a red spell. And then it says choose 1, 2, or 3 at random, which is also a very weird sentence. Choose 1, 2, or 3 at random. Its controller mills that many cards, so puts that many cards from the top of their library into their graveyard, then exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card with a different name than that spell, so a different name to the spell that you counted. They may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then they put the rest of put the exile cards in the bottom of their library. So you would think, like, on your face, as a red deck, you play this in a red deck and you go, all right, I just, if I can counter my opponent's board wipe, they're going to flip cards off the top of their library until they, I don't know, find a counter spell or something like that.
So it's a non-land card, not a permanent card, right?
Yeah.
So I counter your Shadow the Sky, and you get a, whatever the foretell counter, so saw it coming.
Yeah, or Birth of Meletus or something. So hopefully something that's not as good and not as impactful as that board wipe, and so then you can keep bashing with your creatures. So yep, okay, seems fine, not very good. But I think they missed a word off this card when they were printing it. It just says counter target spell, or a couple of words, not counter target spell and opponent controls. So because of that, you can counter your own stuff, which means in standard, historic, modern, that's as far as we've seen it so far, but who knows, it could show up anywhere else. We're getting these crazy combo decks. So in Modern, you can do, we saw Frank Carsten put out a thing a calculation thing where he'd run the math on it. You can have a deck that is 53 lands, like 1 Emrakul or 2 Emrakuls, 4 Cascade spells, so 3 mana Cascade spell.
Yeah, Violent Outburst, the one that doesn't need a target.
Yep. And 1 Tibalts Trickery. And you basically just mulligan. He calculated it that you have like an 85% chance that you will have a turn 3 Emrakul.
And importantly, it says you cast that card. Yeah. So
you get the extra turn, and then you can attack and get the Annihilator trigger. Yeah. And your opponent has no permanence, and you have a 15/15 on the battlefield. So, like, that's a weird deck design, like 53 lands, and you just mulligan like crazy until you have an opening hand that has the Cascade spell in it, and probably a couple of lands. And your 80-something% chance to do it. Now, obviously, pretty easy to disrupt. Your opponent just needs 1 counter spell, and they're fine. I don't know how good that's going to be in Modern, but we are seeing it in Standard and
in Historic.
Yeah, and in Historic. Well. Yeah, so what people are doing in Standard and Historic is they are casting 0 mana spells. So we have cards like Tormod's Crypt, which is a 0 mana artifact. You've got like Stonecoil Serpent, which is a X creature, so you can cast it for 0. It dies, it would die normally straight away, but you're countering it anyway. And you're just countering your spell. And the way they're building it in Standard and Historic is they're actually filling the deck with big stuff, like Ulamogs and Ugins and Omniscience and Genesis Ultimatums and things like that. And you're just basically increasing your odds that you're going to hit something big that's potentially going to win the game. You do have that fizzle rate because you can, you counter your Stonecoil Serpent and then you actually go and hit another Tibalts Trickery or some other card that you don't actually want. But you can, using Tibalts Trickery, you can cast, you can hit like Valky and cast the Tibalts side of it and different things like that. You can cast the other side of the card. So, yeah, it's interesting. I've seen like Day 9 streamed that deck for quite a while in the early access, and he just has a turn where it's like he casts like 3 Genesis Ultimatums in the same turn, and he's just got so many things on the battlefield. And he's like, yeah, and then this happens, and this happens, and it's just like, yeah, okay, that's pretty nuts. But then there's also times when the deck literally does nothing.
Well,
so it has a fail rate.
Yeah, it does have a fail rate. I'm yet to see the fail rate on the other side of the table. So I am well aware that, I introduced this deck, or the topic of this deck, as a glass cannon, meaning, it's a one-shot wonder, it's a one-trick pony, whatever the term you want to use. I have played against it 5 times on the Arena ladder, 3 times in Standard, twice in Historic. And they've gone off turn 2 every time, and I've been facing down a Kiora Sea God or Ugin or Ulamog in Historic. So it's just like, I get that there's a fail rate. Can you fail against me, please? Once, So, and I can see why this would cause a bit of rage for, particular players who, want to just play the game because it's a fun game, and someone turns up with this thing and you're like, oh yeah, great. Are we having fun? Like, let's just move on.
Yeah.
So I understand where they're coming from, but if you are in that camp, please know that person's gotten lucky against you. They're particularly in Standard, where you're not looking at the 85% Frank Caster numbers. You're looking at a lot lower than that. And
yeah.
And I can't see this deck being a long-term presence in the metagame. So just let them have their fun, whatever. Like, you'll get wins against it, you'll get losses against it. Just, like, don't let it ruin your day.
It's a sort of deck that is definitely better in Best of 1. And you're probably going to see it a fair bit on the Best of 1 ladder because it is super quick to play. Like, it's either I win on turn 2 or 3 or I lose. And like, if I don't win on turn 2 or 3, I just scoop. So, like, your game literally lasts like 2 minutes most of the time.
Yeah, my best advice would be to play an aggressive deck and get out of silver and gold and into platinum, and you'll see less of it. Yeah,
yeah, definitely. Because it's definitely not the sort of deck. Like, I could be proven completely wrong, but I'm tipping when we get the next MPL Rivals weekend, we're not going to see a bunch of pros playing this deck unless somebody manages to come up with a really good, consistent version of it.
Matt Nass is going to do something with it, isn't he?
He's going to find some weird interaction, and it's going to be KCI all over again.
Matt, I know you're listening to this because we're such a large presence in the Magic creator community. Please don't. From all of us to you, as a fellow KCI lover, don't do it to us. Yeah. So what about since the early access event?
Yeah. So
have you been playing much?
I played a little bit. So I streamed this week, but I streamed Historic, which we can touch on soon. But I played, like, in the early access, I played the, like, Infect deck. Because we do have that Finn the Fangbearer, I think his name is, that gives your opponent poison counters. So it was interesting to play. Like, it's an interesting style, but it is definitely not your traditional Infect. Like, Infect has always been a problem because you can pump the creatures, and the amount of damage the creatures are doing to you, that's how many poison counters you get. So the classic modern Infect deck is play my Glistener Elf or whatever they're called, and then just pump it a bunch of times and hit you for 6 Infect and then finish you off the next turn. The way Finn works, it's every creature with death touch that deals damage to a player just straight up gives 2 poison counters. So it doesn't matter what their power and toughness is, it's just straight 2 poison counters, which can add up pretty quickly, but it's not oppressive where it's like, oh no, you're attacking me with 4 death touch creatures, I need to block all of them, otherwise you're going to pump the one that I don't block and then I'm just going to die. So it is a good way for them to do poison, and it's a bit more reminiscent of poison when we first saw it, which was when was that? Was that like original? That was Lorne?
No.
There was poison in that, wasn't it?
No.
Or was it older? I can't remember.
I think it's older originally, but
yeah, okay.
It
is too. Yeah, there is some really old cards that have poison,
but there was no like good ones until sort of Glistener Elf and
then that was actually Infect, which was a bit different.
Yeah, rather than creature has poison.
Yeah. So that deck was a bit of fun, and I tried building a deck around that spirit that I really liked that I spoke about on the last podcast, but that didn't seem to go so well. Trying to play a sort of controlling tempo deck when you don't really know what you're going up against was not so good. So, but other than that, like I didn't see anything. I think I only played against Tibalts Trickery deck once or twice. I didn't see anything that I was concerned about. I remember the last early access event we played. By the time the event had finished, everybody was going on about, Omnath is a problem.
Yeah.
And we saw it, like, I remember seeing it a bunch, like, during the stream. It's like, oh, man, we're playing against this deck again? Oh, this deck is going off.
Yeah, so...
every time.
If we take a step back and look at the decks that we saw, we don't have an Omnath situation. We've got a Glass Cannon combo deck that's just a bit of a meme, and the next most hyped card that I've heard from, other podcasters, streamers, and content creators is a 5-mana 4/4 Hasty Dragon.
Yeah.
And, and that's great. Like, yeah. I'm excited about that because that tells me that, this is a good set from a standard perspective. Eternal players or Commander players, might have 1 or 2 little gems from the set. But as someone who just wants to play Arena and, maybe an F&M in their local store, we're not going to see, ridiculousness where the player across the table with 60 of their 75 cards being mythics. And so I'm it's refreshing.
Yeah. So have you been playing Standard since the event?
A little. I have been jumping between Standard and Historic. I've been playing the Warriors deck as my... So here we go, Shorty. So I'm so excited I am about Magic. I've got a best of 1 deck and a best of 3 deck right now. So it's and they're decks that I've, was interested in playing in the early access event, and I've been sort of tweaking and tuning them. So my best of 1 deck is a Red White Warriors deck, and I've mucked around with different numbers and all sorts of different options there. And, it's a decent best of 1 deck. I've got a, 60-something% win rate with it. So, ticking along. Mind you, I hadn't played a lot in the last Standard, so I'm pretty low on the rank. So, but in best of 3, I've been playing the Foretell control deck, and that's really, really fun. But that needs a few weeks for the format to kind of settle down before I know what to really play in that.
You need to know what to target when you're playing control decks.
Yeah. So
now you mentioned the is it deck or the deck that's playing Goldspan Dragon, which I played in a couple of decks during the early access event, and straight away it was like, yeah, okay, we spoke about this card on the podcast and we said it was going to be pretty good, and yeah, turns out it is very good. It's you're guaranteed, like if we can't remember what it is 3 red for a 4/4 flying haste, as Chewy said, and when it attacks or becomes the target of a spell, create a treasure token. So it's not just a target of a spell you control, it's just the target of a spell. And then treasures you control have, you can sack them for 2 mana instead of 1 mana. So you're going to get, no matter what, you're going to get 1 treasure out of it, because either you're going to get to attack or your opponent's going to try and kill it, unless they have some sort of activated ability way to kill it, which is not very likely at the moment. So you're going to get a treasure out of it, and what can happen is your opponent, you cast the dragon and your opponent tries to kill it, you get the treasure before their spell resolves, so you now have access to 2 mana, which conveniently is enough to cast a whole bunch of different counter spells. So you can then counter their spell that targeted your dragon, and you still have a 4/4 flying haste.
You've got a negate, you got a disdainful stroke.
That you then attack with, and you get another treasure token, so you still have another 2 mana. So it actually works really, really well. It is just a really good finisher. We've seen in the past the variations on this, like 5 mana flying haste dragon, and they've usually been good and
glory bringer type effects, right? Yep.
And yeah, this one is another good one. So yeah, the deck that this is actually a deck that LSV put out like for the early access. He basically just sort of threw it together, and turned out it was like one of the best decks in the format. So every now and then LSV knows what he's talking about, but
occasionally
he can't really play Magic. That guy, he's not very good.
No.
But so it's running, Bone Crusher Giants, Brazen Borrowers, and Goldspan Dragons. That's your creature package, and then you've got a whole bunch of different counter spells, some Essence Scatters, some Disdainful Strokes, some Negates, the Saw It Comings, the Behold the Multiverses, and then Frostbite for your creature removal or Planeswalker removal. Whole bunch of different snow-covered lands, and then running 4 Shark Typhoon. So you're a semi-control deck, but you're almost like that sort of tempo.
Yeah, that blue-red flash tempo.
Yeah. Like, you've got Brazen Borrower and Bone Crusher Giant, 2 of the best cards still in Standard, because they're just so versatile that you can deal with basically anything your opponent's doing. And then, once you hit that dragon, get the treasure, you're sort of off to the races. You have so many ways to protect it, so...
And that dragon doesn't have to deal all 20 damage, because you're still getting in with your spirit for, as a 4/4 or 6/6 or 8/8 or whatever they get to. So
Yep.
Yeah, it's I think that deck's going to be a player in Standard.
Yeah, I'm definitely keen to build that deck. It's got a lot of elements that I like to play, and it'll just be whether or not I've got the wild cards for it.
A lot of elements looks being islands and mountains in the same deck, right? Yeah.
Correct.
I like it. So what do you think then? Like, we've talked about the format being sort of refreshed a little, and it's worth noting, like, the decks that were around pre Kaldheim are still around. There's still Black Red Sacrifice, and all of those decks that we're used to seeing on ladder, they're still there and they're still good, and got an upgrade to their mana base in a lot of cases. So I think there's a lot of new decks, and then the existing decks are also still there, still got a presence. What's your take on Standard? What's your feeling on the format?
It's going to be good. Like, there seems to have been enough of an injection that we've got some new decks, or at least some variations on the old deck, so it's not just the same old boring stuff. And there seems to be enough decks that are actually strong and playable that you can kind of play what you want to play. And that's, like, I've listened to a ton of podcasts this week. That seems to be the consensus across the board. No, I haven't heard anybody saying, oh boy, we've got problems, or this, Standard solved already, or it's boring, or anything like that. I haven't heard that once. And people like someone like Saffron Olive, Seth from MTG Goldfish, who obviously plays a ton of Magic but hasn't been super excited about Standard for ages, he's been saying, I've been playing heaps of Standard this week because I'm really enjoying it. So for someone like that to be enjoying it so much is really good to see. And I think Standard's going to be quite good. I don't see the Tibalts Trickery becoming a problem, and yeah, we're going to see some good variants in the decks that we have. What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, I agree, and I kind of share that renewed enthusiasm. I haven't been absolutely in love with Standard. A lot of my Magic over the last, since Christmas has been limited focused.
Yep.
There's been a lot of cubes, basically, both in paper and on the various online clients. So I've still been playing a lot of Magic, but if I'm playing Standard, it's because I just feel like playing Magic and there's, sort of nothing else firing, so you just jump on the ladder for a game or two. But I haven't been invested in it at all. But I'm inspired, and I'm actually building decks, which is, for me, I guess that's an important metric. If I'm brewing, then that tells me I'm excited, rather than going, oh, what decks are out there. If I'm actually actively trying to explore the format myself, then I'm pumped. That tells me Magic's in a good spot. For me, I'm sure there's 1% of people out there that are unhappy, but I know that you're 1%.
There's always people that are unhappy.
You're wrong. And that everyone else is having a good time. Tibalts Trickery is not as someone who's 0-5 in the times that I played it on ladder, I am sending out the declaration that Tibalts Trickery is fine and it will go away. It is an annoying fly that's buzzing around. You'll find it dead on your windowsill in 2 days' time. Don't worry about it.
Good analogy.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think like similar to you, that indicator that I'm actually like looking at brewing decks and stuff is a good indicator that I'm excited about the format, because for a while it's just been jump on Arena, what quest do I have to play? Okay, I'll play my red deck, I'll play my black deck, whatever. Yeah. And then, okay, I'm done, cool, okay, I'll go and do something else. So now you mentioned that you're playing a best of one deck. I'm tipping that is for a specific reason, and that's probably because you've now got Magic Arena on your phone.
Yeah, people start to...
Would that be correct?
Yeah, if you're sitting down in a certain room in the house for a best of 3 game, your feet go to sleep. But if you've got a best of one deck on your mobile, then you can play anywhere. I literally made a cup of tea this afternoon and played a best of one while I was waiting for the kettle to boil. So,
yeah, nice. So we haven't talked about it on the cast previously, or we've mentioned it on and off that Arena was coming to mobile, but with the release of Kaldheim, they actually have put it on phones.
Yeah, and
which everyone was pretty skeptical about.
Yeah, worth shouting out that in episode 50, when we did our mailbag special, Scott the Blaster Boy, his bold prediction was that Arena would be on mobile within the next 50 episodes. It took 12 and a half episodes, Blaster Boy. So, yeah, you called out at the time that it's not really a prediction because it'd been announced. But
it had already been announced.
But, well done, Blaster Boy. You got there.
You got there, yep.
Yeah, so I upgraded phones over Christmas. I got the Pixel 5. I'm an Android user. Come at me. But I get to play Arena on my phone, and it's great. I'm playing way more. I got a kid who decides this week she doesn't want to sleep, so I'm sitting on the bedroom floor at 2 a.m. playing Arena on my phone, trying to get her to sleep. So it's working for me.
Quality parenting.
Yeah. Well, she just wants someone in the room.
Yeah.
And it's like, which land should I play first, Scout? Yeah.
Yeah. Wondering why she's not going back to sleep. Is she watching you play Arena?
Yeah, exactly. But we're both happy and she's quiet. But
yep. So it is worth mentioning. So it did get released only on Android devices.
And only specific not on iPhone. Android devices. So if you've got an older phone, it's probably not going to run for you, unfortunately.
Yeah. So this is an early access thing. They've come out and said, okay, we're going to just like sort of stage release it, see how it goes, and put it on, and they released a list of phones that it would go on, and yeah, yours is obviously basically brand new, so it would go on yours, no worries. I've heard of a few people that have like Pixel 4s that were apparently on the list, but it's pretty jumpy and buggy and things like that. But yeah, how have you found it? Like, obviously you've played it a ton, you gave me your phone and I played one game with it and thought it was pretty good. Was definitely impressed with it, but yeah, give us a rundown on what you think.
So it's early access. It needs some work, but it's exactly what you would want. It is Arena on your phone. You fire it up and you play, and you're just like, oh, it's just Arena, right? Yep. And that's a good thing. It is cross-platform, so I logged in and all of my cards and all of my ranks and everything, my mastery tree, everything is there. So it's not like I have to have a separate account or invest any extra money or anything. Cross-platform, very good. So it ticks that box. That's a really important one. There are a couple of things where, screens don't load and you've got to quit the client and get back in again. And that, maybe my phone, it may be the client, but, it's not quite at that polish. It's not the finished product yet. There are a couple of little bugs. A lot of them are getting reported from the early access users. The only one I've come across is I'm playing the Red White Warriors equipment deck as my best of one deck currently. The Halvar, the god of equipment, his at the beginning of combat on your turn, attach an equipment to a creature you control trigger doesn't work on the mobile. Yeah, so I've lost a couple of games because of that, unfortunately.
Can you, if you're in full control, or can you, first question, can you go full control?
You can go full control, absolutely. So you can play Tibalts Trickery on your phone if you want to. And they've brought out updates. There's daily updates coming out. They are working really hard. The auto tapper was getting people because the manual mana tapping was a bit clunky. But I played the aggressive deck. I've also played the control deck and a deck in historic that tries to have a lot of permanence just to see how it goes. A little bit of buyer's remorse from my perspective. I decided when I got my new phone to go with I didn't go with the Plus. I got the smaller form phone because I found I wasn't getting value out of the bigger phone. It didn't fit in the pocket of my life jacket while I was fishing in my kayak as well. A few things like
fit
that.
In your skinny jeans.
Yeah. I haven't been able to wear skinny jeans for a little while. But,
hang on, that's me.
Yeah, that for you they're just jeans. But
yes, that's very true.
But so it is a smaller thing. But if you've got the Galaxy Note, or when it comes to iPhone, if you've got one of the larger form phones, it's going to be a bit better because you're just going to have more screen real estate. But I'm still able to play Magic on my phone, and I've never been able to do that before, and it's amazing. It really is. I am finding myself just having a game of Magic where I can do it anywhere. We went up to on our way up to dinner where you played a game on my phone. We stopped at a supermarket to, grab some stuff for a charcuterie board or whatever, charcuterie board, and charcuterie from the ad that's going on at the moment. So my wife ran in because, I don't buy the right cheese apparently, so she had to go in. And so I sat in the car with the kids for 15 minutes and just played Magic. I had a 5G connection outside the supermarket. And so it's a bit of a novelty, but, we all play games on our phone, whether it's, whatever game that you're playing or whatever, whether it's solitaire or whatever. But, now Magic's an option, and that's awesome. And it works, and it's just going to get better. So, yeah,
it's cool. I've definitely heard of people having lagging issues and that sort of stuff, but it does seem to be people with older phones, so that's not surprising. I am concerned how they're going to go optimizing it for older phones, because if it's literally you have to have a phone from 2020 and beyond to be able to play this, that cuts off so many people, and that's such a big portion of the market that they're going to want to be in. It
does, but if I put my software development release management hat on, because that's what I do for work, that is the simplest way, because phone technology does change so quickly, and most people get phones every couple of years. So it's a lot less effort to just program things for the newer technology to try to then make things backwards compatible. So it's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate, and hopefully they can do it. I sort of, you compare it to other mobile games. I've played Hearthstone on my phone, and it runs flawless. But as you and I discussed when we were at that dinner, games like Hearthstone were built for mobile play. They were built for digital play with mobile. They didn't come to mobile straight away, but they were built with that in mind. So Hearthstone has things like a limit on how many permanents or creatures, that sort of thing, you can actually have on your battlefield. Which makes sense.
Yeah, I could sit there on my Pixel 5 and like scoot swarm to my heart's content, right?
Well, until you get to 250 triggers or tokens or whatever, and then that's your cap. But that's a problem that Magic is always going to have, because it is a physical card game where when you play in paper, you can shortcut so many things. Whereas games like Hearthstone and Eternal and those sorts of games were built for digital play, so they don't have those problems.
Yeah.
They also have the benefit of being able to adjust cards and all that sort of stuff, which we've spoken about before. When something's too powerful, they can do a nerf and change a power and toughness here or there, or increase the costs or whatever, which Magic just can't do. So it's never going to be quite as good as that.
No, but those other games aren't quite as good as Magic, so it's a trade-off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The other thing, I'm a little bit concerned about with Magic, we've seen it, people complaining about Arena, running on laptops and, setting laptops on fire, and people with, good PCs, and it's just, burning all their resources on their PCs and stuff. There does seem to be some weird things with Arena where it uses up so much power, and I look at, how Arena is on the phone at the moment. It needs to be a brand new phone, all that sort of stuff, and it's still not quite perfect. I play, as we've mentioned on the podcast before, I play Genshin Impact. A bunch of other people play Genshin Impact, and I play that predominantly on my phone. I have an iPhone 11 that it's I don't know, over 2 years old now probably, and Genshin is third person. You're running around in this crazy world where it's drawing stuff all off in the distance, and there's things going off all over the place. Every time you're doing you're chaining together these elemental bursts, and it's fire and lightning and stuff just going everywhere. A lot of animations
going on. Yeah,
so much going on.
There's a lot of Uros entering the battlefield.
Yeah. And it does it flawlessly. I've had it freeze on me maybe 3 times in 6 months or something like that. But it does it flawlessly. There's no lag. There's nothing like that.
Yep. So I looked into that a little bit. I did my homework for the first time in 63 episodes. And I was playing another game with Reese from our Discord. We were playing some PUBG. And he mentioned the platform that Arena was written on, which is a platform called Unity, which is a cross-platform thing. And I had a look into it, and it is notorious for memory leak issues.
Right.
So it consumes. Picture having 500 Chrome tabs open, and how's your computer going to run? So, I don't know what Genshin or other games run on, what platform they run on, but
I have no idea.
Yeah, but there is sort of known resource. It's known to be resource hungry, that platform. Yeah. So that's, I guess, they chose that because it is, the most agnostic platform, but that does come with a cost. So they've probably got things running in the background that are specific for PC or iPhone or Android clients that aren't used if you're not on those platforms, but they're consuming resources. So it could be optimized to each client, yes, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll get there. Hopefully we'll see in 6 months' time it comes to iPhone, it goes back to older phones, all that sort of stuff, and it runs really well. Because, like you said, if once it's like that, the volume of Magic that we play will drastically increase. Because just being able to go, I'm making a cup of tea, I've got 5 minutes. Well, I can fit in a game of Mono Red in 5 minutes, no worries. I
Easy,
can probably fit in 2 games.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll lose 2 ranks. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So look, all sounds pretty good and definitely promising, and just awesome to see that we're finally getting it on the mobile. And I'm looking forward to one day getting my hands on it on my phone and taking up a bunch of my time. All right, so this weekend, we've mentioned it already, we are having the kickoff of our Magic Beans tournament series, which still is crazy that we can even say that, but we've got our first event. So what do we got going on this weekend?
We've got a one-off historic event, so pretty excited. So we didn't want to jump straight into standard because not everybody's had a chance to accrue the wildcards to play the new set yet. So we are running historic, which will be, if you listen to this in the future, you may have missed it. It's on Saturday, Feb 6th at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time. It is a one-off event. It's historic best of 3 Swiss with prizes, and it is free to enter. So Magic Beans doing their Magic Beans things with that free to sign up, free to play with prizes. Thanks again to Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar for their sponsorship, which allows us to do that. So if you want to take advantage of that, there will be, I'm sure, a link to the sign up in our show notes. Thanks, Shorty. Yep. And what's different about we've run these little one-off events, when we're in between formats and things before. We did that last year, but this year they're a little different in that our one-off events actually are officially part of our tournament series. And that means you can actually win invitational points. So, for those who may be new to the Beans, our invitational is our big end of year event. All of our leagues culminate into that. Big prizes on the line. As the name states, it's invite only. The Beans do a bunch of commentary on it. We put a lot of effort into that. It's our big end of year shindig. And with these one-off events, the number of invitational points is based on a sliding scale. The more people that enter, the more envy points are up for grabs. And as it stands currently, we've got over 20 people registered for it, which means that whoever takes down this event, whoever wins, will get the yellow jersey and take 3 invitational points.
Get that early lead. Yeah,
2 for second, 1 for third, as well as playing for, I think it's like $150 worth of cash and prizes.
Yeah. So $40 in cash for first place, and then, goes down from there. Some boosters on the line. We'll have random door prizes. There's vouchers to Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. So, over $150 of cash and prizes, which is, pretty good. Again, free event. We had someone comment on our Discord this week. Is this event really free? It's like, yes, it is. All of our events are always free, and we will always have prizes. So, if you're not in our Discord and you're not getting involved in our events, get in there and get into them and become a part of it. It's great fun.
Get on it. It's good. It's good. So are you playing?
Yeah. I'm playing on Saturday. I streamed Historic this week just as a bit of a prep. Played Mono Red with Bergie, one of the new gods that is 3 mana 3/3, and every spell you cast, it adds a red to your mana pool. It doesn't disappear through your phases, which is pretty nice. So I'm playing like Experimental Frenzy and Runaway Steamkin. So
who would have thought that broken mana engines were a viable option? Yeah.
So the other thing, which I didn't actually realize until I was on stream, the other side of Bergie is an artifact, a horn that you can. It's 5 mana, which is a little bit much, but it's not too bad. But you can discard a card and you exile the top 2 cards of your library, and then you can play those cards till the end of turn. So what that works perfectly with is Experimental Frenzy. When you've got an Experimental Frenzy out, you just get stuck with cards in your hand because you're drawing that card every turn and you can't do anything with them. And you get stuck in those spots where you have lands, 2 or 3 lands on top of your library, and you just run out of things to do. Well, the horn on the other side of Bergie lets you discard a card that you're not using out of your hand and get rid of those lands off the top of your library and get to more action.
It's just a light up the stage on tap, right?
Yeah, and it is very good.
It does cost 5, but you're generating mana that doesn't disappear through stages
5
with
is,
Bergie.
when you're playing Frenzy, 5's not bad because you're trying to hit 4 anyway to hit your Frenzy, and then you're always going to hit a land off your Frenzy. So you're going to get to 5, no worries.
Yep.
And then when you've got a Steamkin on the go or a Bergie, like you're adding heaps of mana to your mana pool, and it's not a problem getting to 5. So if you get a Bergie and the horn out at the same time, you're going off. I had a game on stream the other night where I had a Frenzy, I had a Bergie, I had 2 Steamkins, and I cast like 30 spells in the turn.
I actually watched that game and I was like, oh no, Shorty's dead here. And then
I was looking
5 minutes later,
it was against the mono white life gain deck or something like that. It was like, I'm going to be dead. I'm not going to win this game. And we got there, and then our opponent, after sideboarding, just roped us out and then conceded. I was like, okay, no worries.
Thanks, player. Yeah.
So that's what I'm playing. I do, as we've said, I've painted myself into the mono red corner, which is fine. But I'm excited to play that deck. So
Yeah, it's
do you
very cool.
do you know what you're playing? Because you're planning on streaming for this.
Yeah, so I'll be streaming from 11, maybe a little bit before. And I don't know what you're talking about playing coloured spells. I'm going to play the artifact ramp deck with
the mono brown.
Yeah, mono brown with the Forsaken Monument, your Mind Stones. It's actually
Khans.
it's actually got black spells in it. So
Okay. Yeah.
so Arena tells me it's a mono black deck, but it doesn't have a swamp. I got Field of Ruin today on my mobile,
nice.
and I'm like, I don't have a swamp, so I might have to adjust my deck list.
Just put one in there.
Yeah. And it plays both Khans. So you've got the sideboard one of, which is something I enjoy doing in Modern. And I cast a turn 5 Ugin today, which was pretty gas. So
nice.
turn 4 Forsaken Monument, turn 5 Ugin, and won that game. So I'm going to be playing that. It's pretty, I wouldn't play this deck in best of one because you just die to the aggressive decks. You really do need that, those 3 games to take the W. But, I've been playing a bunch of it. It's I've got the hang of the deck. I think the deck is good. I haven't played a lot of Historic, and when I've played Historic, I've basically just tried to put Embercleave on red and green creatures. So it's nice to explore the format a little more. It's pretty dead to the blue-white control deck. They just have too many counter spells, but like I mentioned before when we're talking about Standard, sometimes the Maze Mind Tome just does work, and you can keep up with them on cards, and that can get you an advantage. But but what are you expecting? Do you think a lot of the Beans are going to, the people in the Beans event are going to try to Tibalts Trickery people, or do you think we'll see?
I think we'll see, 1 or 2 maybe. There is, you sent me a list the other day of a runes deck that looks pretty interesting with your Core Spirit Dancer and just casting a million runes. So there's a few funky decks in Historic, but I think we're probably just going to see mostly the same old. There's nothing that's really... I haven't seen anything on Twitter or heard anybody talking about, here's the new best deck in Historic and that sort of stuff. So I don't think the pros are really focused on Historic at the moment. I think their next MPL events are Standard.
Yeah.
So, I'm tipping we'll see your same old stuff. You'll see your Sultai mid-rangers, your Jund or your Rakdos sacrifices. We'll probably see some goblins if people have them. And then, a whole bunch of other, the Gruuls, the mono-reds, all that sort of stuff. Just the usual things that we've been seeing for quite a while in Historic. So, probably hasn't been enough to actually cause a big shake-up, but somebody will probably bring something pretty spicy. So, be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And as I said, I'll be streaming. So shout out to everybody on our Discord that is obviously listening to this as at the moment that it goes to air.
100%.
We'll be getting a bunch of people to stream to Discord. So if I finish my match, if I get crushed by Mono Red in 5 minutes, you don't just have to stare at me. We'll do some commentary on some of the other games as well. So join up. You might even get a chance to, have some of your games featured on stream, which is pretty cool as well. So,
yep.
Yeah,
Should be good fun. Yeah. Looking forward to it. And it's an awesome way to kick off the start of our tournament series for 2021 and find out who's going to be on top of the ladder right from the start.
Yeah,
cool.
and most importantly, find out, which bean has the highest finish so we can get those bragging rights as well.
Exactly. Yep, we have released the actual official rules in our Discord for our tournament series and for our leagues, and one of the things we've been pretty clear about is the Beans will not be eligible for any invitational points or prizes. So if Chewy happens to somehow finish first in this event, then the player in second will effectively count as first, and third will count as second, fourth, and so on. So our prizes and our invitational points just pass down the line.
Yep.
But we will be keeping track of the theoretical points that the Beans would have earned from our events and keeping a ladder of that to see at the end of the year who the best Bean is and who gets the bragging rights.
And I know, the league's competitive, there's a lot on the line, but it pales in comparison to being crowned the best bean, let me tell you.
The supreme bean.
Supreme bean. We should get a trophy made up. So, yeah.
I think that's got Chris's name written all over it.
Exactly.
Go on, Chris, get us a trophy.
Is there something else happening this weekend? Some other
There is, yes.
event?
The most important event of the year, that's way more important than anything else, is the Super Bowl. So you may have picked up on various hints dropped here and there throughout our podcast over the last year and a half or so, but I am very much a big NFL fan.
Well, you played the game, right?
Yeah. So I played Gridiron for a while here in Melbourne, coached it for a while, and yeah, definitely enjoyed it. But yeah, it's good fun, and yeah, we get the Super Bowl, which for us here in Australia, it's Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, but here in Australia, it's Monday for us. Thankfully, the time zones work out okay. It's during the day, but it does mean usually you have to take the day off work. And I don't know if you've known Chewy, but Tom Brady, who is a name I know you definitely know, he left the Patriots.
Yeah, which is kind of like that would be like, I don't know, Marcus Bontempelli leaving the Bulldogs or something. But
sure.
So and then he joined the Buccaneers. Is that correct?
Tampa Bay Bucks,
who have not been a powerhouse at all in recent years. Am I correct?
No. They've been okay, but I don't think they've made it to playoffs for ages or anything like that. But turns out Tom Brady, despite being 45 or something like that, put him on a brand new team and still makes his way to the Super Bowl. I think this is his 10th Super Bowl appearance, and he has 6 wins, which is phenomenal.
We're not an NFL podcast, but I as someone who I'm a casual observer. I'm a Jets fan, so I can only stand to be a casual observer. There's that discussion with people like Dan Marino or whatever. Is Tom Brady the GOAT?
Oh yeah.
If he wins, if he takes the Bucks from obscurity to a championship, he puts that beyond doubt, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt at all. It's pretty much. He's pretty much undisputed at the moment as being, the greatest of all time, and which is phenomenal. And this season has just proved that he just really is on another level. So very very impressive. But the Bucks will be going up against the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, and we'll see if I'm pretty sure that they won last year. So we'll see if they can go back to back, but it should be a good game. Both teams are doing really well. And
did Drew Brees retire? Did I see that as well?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, I might have to check that.
Yeah, check that with Mrs. Shorty. She's the Saints fan.
New Orleans fan. Yep. But should be a good game. Definitely check it out on
Surprising
Monday.
myself with how much I know about NFL as a casual observer. Wow.
Yep. We just cross our fingers and hope that Tom Brady doesn't win, because I am an Atlanta Falcons fan, and I'm still salty about the 28-3 drubbing that happened in the Super Bowl a few years ago when the Falcons were up 28-3 at halftime and then managed to lose to Tom Brady and the Patriots.
That's the thing, when you're that good, you're polarizing, right? You either love Tom Brady or you don't. And we see that with Kobe and LeBron and with Jordan in other games, and Buddy Franklin or Cam Smith in Australian sports. So it's interesting. So I'll watch it, and I'll be pretty agnostic about it. I think I'm actually torn, because as an Aussie, you've got that tall poppy thing. You want the underdog to win. The Bucks are the underdogs because of their lack of success. But they've got Tom Brady, but then you've got the Chiefs are the underdogs that are up against Tom Brady. So it's an interesting dynamic. It'll be interesting to watch. Anyway,
should be a good game. Anyway, that concludes the Magic Beans NFL podcast. So we'll do our usual wrap. Thanks as always for listening. Make sure you're jumping in our Discord to get in on all these events. Head to the link in our show notes to grab yourself some sweet Magic Beans merchandise, hoodies and T-shirts, all that sort of stuff.
The mouse pad's amazing, by the way, everybody.
Yeah, the giant mouse pads. There's a link in there, as always, to Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar, so go and check them out, grab some bargain auctions, and let them know the Beans sent you. And as we mentioned, they are providing the prize support for these awesome events we're doing. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. All of those places, just search for Magic Beans or Magic Beans Cast, and you'll find us on there. If you want to find me on Twitter, I am at Peace Inc. Chewy, you are?
At Chewy MTG.
Very good. So, Thanks again for listening. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you all next time.